Hi everyone, this is Jason and welcome back to the show. My guest today is Alex Lidenmeyer. He's a co-founder of Accointing.com. Accointing is a platform that allows you to track your crypto assets between wallets and exchanges through one convenient interface. What makes Accointing different is that you can also prepare tax documents that can be submitted during tax season. For more information on Accointing, please go to Accointing.com. And you can follow them on Twitter at Accointing. That's Accointing. If you would like to skip ahead to the demo portion of this video, it's at the 12-minute mark. But before you do, please like, share, and subscribe, and hit the bell so you're notified whenever I upload a new video. Thank you, and now on with our show. Hi everyone, this is Jason. Welcome back to the show. Joining me today is Alex. He's a co-founder of Accointing.com. Alex, thank you for joining me today. Welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot for having us, and thanks a lot for reaching out to us.
So I wanted to ask you, we were talking a bit on Twitter about what we were going to talk about here.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing that I wanted to talk to you about, aside from how you got into crypto, is the importance of tracking trades. So when a lot of people, they just jump into the space. You know, they find an exchange that they like, and they just start trading. But I think how do I keep track of this stuff has been as an afterthought, as opposed to planning. You know, okay, this is how I'm going to attack this, and this is how I'm going to keep track of what goes on. So, can you give us can you speak to the importance of tracking trades?
Yeah, absolutely. So before kind of getting into the details of how I got into crypto and everything, the time that really tracking and everything popped up into my head and into the head of my co-founders was in 2017, right? When markets start going crazy, that's when you really want to track, right? Because you constantly want to know what is going on, how's your portfolio doing, should you rebalance something, right? Or should you just kind of hodl? Maybe prices exploded too much within a short period of time, so you might want to deleverage a bit. Or if you have several exchanges, you might have forgotten where are your coins actually, right? Or do you actually have some coins on certain exchanges or not? Or what's your wallet distribution like, right? So in terms of do you have a ton of I don't know, Ethereums, or do you have a ton of shit coins? What's the difference there, right? And where are you actually storing those? So if you have several different wallets, either out of security reasons, or just because you kind of have a long kind of a hodl wallet and a short trading wallet, you need to make sure that you know where everything is at all times. And of course, it's not as interesting in a bear market or in a sideways market because you don't want to be constantly checking, right? But in a market that's just up and up and up, and as ecstatic as 2017 was, that really becomes important, because otherwise you might hurt your portfolio, right? You might not properly trade because you're not tracking.
Then you have the whole issue with, you just happen to open it and then you see it in a bear market or going down, and then you make a split decision to sell everything.
Absolutely. No, yeah, I mean, tracking alone doesn't essentially mean that you're really making better decisions, right? But it's a start. And there are other tools that you can use, and also other tools that we've created, or features that we've created that will help you kind of make better decisions.
Gotcha. So how did you find yourself in the cryptocurrency? Was this was it you saw it and then just was like, I need to get involved with this, or was there something that led to it?
So initially, I mean, I think I kind of have the classic story of kind of hearing about it in like 2012, 2013, and just kind of like, not really paying attention to it. I just read it in the news because of Silk Road, but I didn't really pay attention to it. And then in 2016, one of my co-founders actually, who lived a long time in South America, so he lived in Venezuela and Brazil, started talking to me about Bitcoin. And I had a good amount of time at that time, and so I really deeply fell into the rabbit hole. And so for about 2 months, I was kind of not seen by anyone else. I was stuck in my room and I was watching every single video, like Andreas Antonopoulos video, reading books about money. And so 2016 really fell deep into it. And at that point, kind of knew that I just wanted to kind of help make this space more, just create more around this space. And so initially, I started working with a few projects, kind of advising them and working with them around kind of the community aspect. So in terms of how to properly create communities, how to create content for communities, which is obviously very important to kind of grow the space.
Right.
And then in 2017, when everything went crazy, as I said, this whole tracking stuff was just becoming so important for some friends of mine and I. And I also had a friend of mine, or a co-founder now as well, who lived in Germany, and the tax implications in Germany are a lot more explicit than here in Switzerland. So I live in Switzerland. I'm from Switzerland. And so he had some struggles with coin tracking. And here in Switzerland, the tax implications aren't too bad. It's not too complicated. But all of the transactions and everything the coin tracking was creating were just all over the place. And so it ended up meaning that also 5 of us co-founders, we all had to go to accountants and had to pay way too much money to accountants to kind of do this work manually.
Right.
And so at that point we were like, all right, this isn't going to work. And secondly, for us, which was very, very apparent to us, was that the user experience of current tools is just not great. Right. No matter whether tracking or taxes, but across the board, this has obviously changed in the last 2 years. But I think also things like wallets and things like that were just, the user experience wasn't great.
Right. Well, in the US, we haven't gotten our act together as far as the tax part. I mean, the last set of guidances, I think, added more questions than they actually solved. Gave answers.
Yep.
Especially in the terms of forks and airdrops and things like that.
Yeah, airdrops and staking and all of this. I think it's like that in most countries. And I'm pretty certain that next year we'll get some more clear guidance on that.
Yeah, hope so. So one issue that I remember having when I first got into the space was I signed up for everything. I had like a bunch of wallets. I checked out all the exchanges. I had and I was recording it, and we talked about this before the show on an Excel spreadsheet. That's how I was trying to keep track of everything.
Yep.
But how do you, if you're talking to someone who's new, someone who just got into the space, would you recommend them stay to a minimal number of, say, tracking sites, portfolios, things like that? Like, say, just use one exchange, one wallet, and Accointing? How would you speak to that?
Yeah, so I think that it's kind of a natural development, right? Usually most people that kind of get interested in the space, they fall down a rabbit hole, and maybe they put some skin into the game so that they have more affiliation to the space. And so usually I definitely just kind of recommend or just say, look, like go to an account, go to a exchange such as Coinbase or Kraken, um, and deposit some cash, and then buy maybe some Bitcoin, or maybe some Ethereum, and just keep learning, right? And actually understand what decentralization is, how money works, maybe what smart contracts are, if that's something that interests you. And I think it kind of naturally develops where, as you fall deeper into the rabbit hole, you kind of realize that maybe there are more applications to it. And I don't want to kind of speak to the whole maximalism and that kind of stuff, because that's obviously a very touchy subject.
Right.
But and then the user himself needs to kind of decide on whether he wants to go to other exchanges or whether he really wants to just kind of explore Bitcoin. And then the development of then going to an exchange that maybe offers a coin that they're interested in kind of then naturally happens, right? Now, I don't really advise or kind of talk about this with new people in terms of like all of the different coins that are out there and everything, because I think one thing that we're not looking at enough as people that are actually very active in the space is that it's very, very easy to fall into scams,
Yes.
right? Things like OneCoin, like Plus Token, these projects have amassed billions of dollars, and it's mainly because of people that kind of don't understand the space, right? They understand kind of the ethos behind like why cryptocurrencies exist, maybe,
Right.
don't understand any of the technology, and kind of start Googling. And obviously the scams are perfectionists at finding these people.
Right.
And so that's why I kind of say stick to coin, or I tell them about Coinbase or Kraken, and that's kind of about it.
Right. Well, especially when you consider that, like Coinbase, for example, is insured. So if
Exactly.
anything
Yeah,
happens, you know.
that
Um,
as well. Yeah.
K- So let's move on to the platform itself, to
Hmm.
Accointing. And I
Hmm.
believe you said you had a demo for us, right?
Yep, absolutely. So we obviously we kind of differentiate our two tools for a bit currently. So we have the mobile app, both on Android and iOS,
Mm.
which has the tracking features, um, where you can import wallets and exchanges. You can check all the prices. You can see how the overall market is doing. Soon we're going to be releasing alerts as well. So that's price alerts and also actual on-chain transaction alerts.
Nice.
So in case a huge amount of USDT is moved into Binance or into Coinbase, you'll get notified about that. And then we do have the desktop version, or the web version, where you can also do your taxes. So I'm happy to jump right in, to kind of quickly show you how it all works. Let me see on sharing. Here we go. Cool. So let me know if you see the screen.
Yes, I do.
Awesome. So the onboarding experience looks slightly different, but this is essentially what it comes down to. So what you can really do is directly in here, you can add all of your wallets or exchanges, meaning that if you click on add wallet, these are all the wallets that you can add. And so we can go in here, for example, go into Ethereum, and all it is really is adding your public wallet address. So I've gone ahead into Etherscan, and found a really juicy DAI wallet, which has a ton of DAI in there. And so we just copy paste the public wallet address, save connection, saving, and now it's all imported. You can see it's the 1.73 Ethereum, and the ERC20 is also imported. So we click on OK, and now it's going to be processing. And so in terms of the wallets, we've got pretty much all of the major chains and major hardware wallets as well, like Ledger and Trezor. And we're always happy to add more. So really all it is writing us a message that you'd like a certain wallet or blockchain integrated, and we'll integrate that pretty fast.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
When you're integrating a wallet, I saw Exodus and KeepKey and Trezor. If you're doing KeepKey, for example, does it?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have to put in each currency individually, or just the main?
Exactly. So the reason why this happens, the reason why we say you can integrate KeepKey and Ledger and Trezor is because there's a good amount of users that essentially don't think about how this all works in the back end,
Hmm.
right? And so people think that if you import Ledger, that you can really just create a connection to the ledger. But
Right.
really, all a ledger is a little hardware device, right? Where you essentially have your Bitcoin address, your private key, and your public key. And so you can't actually link to Ledger itself, or at least Ledger doesn't provide an API access.
Right.
But in order for people to not be confused, we label them like this. And so obviously, if you have an Ethereum address and a Bitcoin address on your KeepKey, for example, or on your Ledger, obviously those are two different chains, right? And so they have to be integrated separately. And so we always kind of check if there are project or if there are wallets that have direct API key access, but most of them sadly don't.
Okay.
Which obviously I fully understand as well, because that's a security concern.
Right.
Um, and so with Exodus, for example, also obviously you can do the swaps and the trades and everything. And so we have asked to see if we can actually create an API with them.
Nice. So once you're connected, like it looks
Mm-hmm.
like the Ethereum we looked at
Yep.
as connected. What do
Yep.
we see on the dashboard?
So I was going to go into the dashboard afterwards. I just wanted to quickly show you the exchanges.
Okay.
Um, so the exchanges there, obviously, if you're a trader, constantly trading, your balance on your exchange changes, I don't know, hourly or daily or whatever it is that you trade, right?
Right.
And so the best way to really integrate exchanges is via an API key. Um, and so we have all of these exchanges, and as well as with the wallets, whenever people ask us or request us for exchanges, we can add those.
Okay.
And so I don't have any trial keys right now, but essentially what you do with Binance is you put in your API key and your secret key. And so there's the manual here, or if you don't like to read, like myself, for example, you can just go right into the video. And so the video really just goes step by step through how to actually find the API key and then create the API key. And this is just a big aspect, because obviously finding an API key isn't the easiest thing. And so we want to really make this process as simple as possible.
And I see you've already brought over Binance US, so that's great.
Exactly. And Binance Jersey is going to be coming soon as well, and a bunch of other exchanges as well. So we're constantly adding those.
Nice.
Then we do also offer a manual import in case we don't have the exchange. You can either add transactions manually, or you can add a CSV upload, so like an Excel file, and you can just download the template and then input your trades or transactions.
Nice.
And so then once everything's connected, you can go into the overview page, and in the overview page, you'll see all of your coins. You'll see whether they're in a profit or a loss, or I guess by chance these are actually break even right now. And what you can do here, you can see all of your values over time of your portfolio, obviously over a huge time period or over a 1 year time period, whatever you want. What you can also do here is that, let me just quickly close this. What you can also do here is that you can actually compare. And so you can do here is you can compare how in your portfolio these sizes were different. And so with these two practice or trial Ethereum addresses, obviously the REN amount was huge. But so you can kind of see how the development in price has affected your portfolio. And so you can compare all of these. What you then also can do is you have your portfolio allocation. So here we can see in total we have 77% in REN, 22.5% in Ethereum, and the rest is just the miscellaneous ones.
Is it possible to, like, say I created my account defaults to USD. If I wanted to see it in euros, can I change it in the account, or do I have to
Yep,
create?
absolutely. Yeah, sorry. So this account seems to be a euro account. So if you go to settings, we can change it to US dollars right here. If we click on save, it should have changed. So there, now it's changed to dollars.
All right, there we go.
Yep.
Okay.
And so what you can then also do is you can actually see what coins are in each of the exchanges or wallets. And so as we can see here, you can see that there's 0% of your funds on exchanges and 100% in wallets, which obviously security-wise is awesome, right? Now, if you're a trader, obviously you'll have some percentage in exchanges, but this is just to give you an overall viewpoint of where your funds are actually at.
Gotcha.
So here in the portfolio allocation, if we click on Kraken, for example, we've got 0.03% in BTC, 0.1% in euros, and 0.01 in Ethereum of the overall portfolio. Then what you can do is you can go further to wallets, and these are your wallets where you can actually see exactly your assets again. So kind of a more deeper dive than what was in the overview page. And then here's one of the features, for example, that I really like and is really important in terms of taxes and kind of optimally trading for tax purposes. So in the US, right, and in Germany, you obviously have a long-term and short-term capital gains tax. And so if, for example, in Germany, if you've got short-term gains, they get taxed 50%, which is a huge amount, right?
Right.
And long-term gains get taxed 0%. And so what I could do here, for example, if this today's date, right, I can see and say, okay, on the 17th of December, 80% of my REN essentially will be long-term. So it probably doesn't make sense, or maybe it does. I mean, that depends on how much you think the price will drop for REN. But if you wanted to sell REN, then it would probably make sense to wait this month in order to not have to pay that 50% tax.
Right.
And so you can always see here how many of your tokens are actually going to be long-term gains.
Nice.
Then in your full data set, here you'll just see all of the transactions. And I see here that some people already played around with this account, actually. So what you also can do is that you can classify the trades or transactions, sorry. So if, say, you sent a certain amount of crypto, maybe it was a payment, or maybe it was a gift to someone, or maybe it was an internal transaction, meaning that it went from one exchange to a wallet of yours, which you haven't integrated in the system.
Right.
Then you could classify them as that. And obviously these then get taxed differently, right? Then if you go to the taxes, what you can do here is you can essentially create your report. So if we wanted to create a report for the US, click on the US, we can choose the tax year, to choose the tax method, and choose the depot method. And so this is one of the big differences that we have in comparison to most other crypto tax tools. And so to very quickly explain this, imagine that you have two Bitcoin wallets, right, and an exchange. And say the first Bitcoin wallet, you sent crypto there in 2017, and so you never actually sent that Bitcoin out of that first Bitcoin wallet, right?
Right.
In the second wallet, you bought crypto in 2017 as well, except that in the second wallet you bought Bitcoin at 20K or 18K in December, right? And in the first wallet, if you bought it in 2016, then you bought maybe around, I don't know, $600-700.
Right.
And so if you have it as multiple depots, that means that the FIFO method gets used individually, meaning that if you send the Bitcoin from the wallet from 2017, so the second Bitcoin wallet, to the exchange, the date of that Bitcoin gets sent with it, meaning that on our tax statement, we say that you sold the Bitcoin that you bought at 18,000, meaning that you most likely, if you sold it, for example, this year, you have losses, right? Now, if you have all of the Bitcoins in a single depot, that means that we're just using the FIFO method, so the first in, first out method, on the whole bunch, meaning that the first Bitcoin that came in is also the first one that which goes out, meaning that you sell that Bitcoin. So in the single depot method, that would mean that we're selling the one from 2016, meaning that we're creating gains. And obviously you don't want to create gains. You want to have the least amount of gains to reduce your taxes.
Right.
And so this is where the multiple depot really becomes huge. And that's why we've created this. It's a little calculation that's not too easy to do because we always have to pass the data along. But for tax wise, it saves you huge amounts.
Nice.
And then we also give the options, like you said before. The guidance on airdrops really isn't clear. The guidance on staking isn't exactly clear either. And so we kind of let you decide on how you want to report these. And so you can ask an accountant on how you should report these, or kind of decide yourself, because there's no proper guidelines, right?
Right.
Then if you click on generate, it'll do a calculation. In this example, obviously we don't have any gain. It's taxable short-term gains. And then these are all the files that you'll get. And so you can actually have a direct Form 8949. You can have a full tax report. You can have the full data set, all the gains and losses, and the daily balance. And so that'll all be filled out, and you're good to go. You can upload the Form 8949 directly to TurboTax. And yeah, that's you set essentially.
Nice. So let me ask you, when you were first putting together Accointing, was the tax portion an original consideration, or was that something that came along after you started doing the portfolio tracking?
So for us, tracking and taxes. So I think that this is a really good question. So we essentially every single day needed a tracking tool, right? But so for example, back in 2017, early on, I was using Blockfolio on my mobile, and we had this backend system of Accointing essentially, but that was running on my computer.
Right.
But so the problem is that if you have a tracking tool, then when tax season comes, you have to import all of that data again, and you have to do all of the work you did initially to track to
Right.
print out your tax report.
Right.
And so we just don't understand why people would make the effort twice or do the work twice, right?
Right.
Because in the end, it's about like people just don't want to take care of tax. Like they just want to have a tax output, and they just want to track their coins. They don't want to spend a lot of time in kind of doing all this admin stuff.
Right.
And so because of that, it was pretty logical to us that we need to have both, and both of them need to have perfect user experience, because if the tracking experience is bad and the tax experience is great, then people still only use it once a year, right?
Right.
But if tracking and tax is great, you import your stuff once, track whenever, and then when tax season is there, you just click on print report, and that's pretty much it.
Right. Because I think the one thing that's been keeping a lot of people from filing their taxes the way they're supposed to is that it was very complicated.
Yeah,
Where, like you said,
absolutely.
you had to get all this information and then you had to get it twice, and you had to record every time you used or traded, and it got convoluted. So a lot of people just brushed it off. But
Exactly. And I mean, even further from the, sorry to break you there, but even further from that is if you use several different exchanges, you have to do the crossing of like the crypto being sent from one exchange to another,
right,
and then uh, where did that money actually come from, and so on and so forth. So doing
right.
that manually was an absolute pain. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. But I like what you guys are doing. I use Accointing for my tracking, so it's a great pleasure for me to be able to speak to you and
Absolutely.
show the platform to everyone. I'm going to link the Accointing website in the description so everyone can check it out for themselves. Um, they're also, guys, they're also on social media, just Twitter, just look up Accointing. It's Accointing, not accounting, it's Accointing.
Exactly.
So, Alex, thank you for joining me today, and I really appreciate it. And please keep me updated on any new developments with Accointing. I'd
Absolutely.
love to hear more.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, I mean, in general, we're really keen on kind of working with the community and working with people. So if anyone has feature requests, exchange requests, or wallet requests, just feel free to reach out to us, ping us, and we love to just build things that people actually want, right?
Perfect.
So thanks a lot for having me on and reaching out again.
No, thank you so much, and we'll definitely be in touch. Thank you again.